You might have a retirement plan, but how confident are you really? Let's get into that today. Welcome to Saturday State of Mind. I'm Jess Panico, joined here by Mike Panico as always. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Jess.
Before we get into it, hit that subscribe button if this is helpful for you. All right, so we've seen this a number of times before. Some people come to us, they're either getting ready for retirement or maybe they already are, but their confidence is a little bit waning.
Confidence is an important asset. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't feel free and clear to spend that money fearlessly, then it can be really difficult to enjoy yourself when you're dependent on living on your nest egg. It's one thing to build the nest egg, right? Because you're doing it with a paycheck, money's coming in, you save a little bit and you spend the rest. But now that paycheck goes away. So you have to have confidence to dip into that piggy bank. And Americans are a little bit light, Jess, I think, on confidence. From what I understand, roughly half of all people approaching retirement don't think that they have enough or think that they're going to run out somewhere along the way. And if you're running into retirement with that kind of a mentality, chances are you're not going to fully enjoy yourself and live every day like it's Saturday.
All right, so how do we fix it? We're going to get into that. We're going to share 3 strategies for folks to use with how to gain more confidence in retirement. Strategy number 1, simplify intentionally. So what I think this one is talking about is I got lots of accounts and lots of different places. I don't know what's going on, maybe because it's very difficult to check in on 20 odd accounts.
Yeah, a lot of people's retirement nest egg doesn't look all that different from a junk drawer. We all have one of those in our kitchen. It's where the pens and the pizza menus are, maybe paper clips that you never use. There's nothing wrong with what's in the junk drawer, right? It might have its place and purpose. But when there's a lot of stuff going on, I've got my current 401k, 2 old 401ks, there's a Roth over here, I have 7 different bank accounts. The more that you have to keep track of, the harder it is to understand what it is that you have. The harder it is to understand what it is that you have, the more difficult it is to dip into it and spend it more fearlessly. Plus, none of these accounts are quite the same. Some have different tax consequences. Some are maybe even taking more or less risk. So one of the first things that we encourage people to do when we start a planning relationship is we got to simplify this. If we can combine accounts to turn a lot into fewer, let's go ahead and do that. And let's also make sure that we label some of this stuff so we understand how and where we're going to use it over time. Simple tends to make people understand things more easily. And the more easily we understand that, it's going to be easier for us to spend the money.
Yeah, I think that's something that people have gone through, a handful of times, just saying, hey, I have even a couple of different bank accounts. Oops, I maybe have forgotten about this one even. But really simplifying, I think, lends to just a better understanding and clarity.
It's also less work, Jess. The more accounts that I have, the more documents I have to keep record of, the more I have to give to my accountant before.
More logins for the bank.
It's more stuff. I don't, how they say less is more? Mm-hmm. That definitely applies here.
Okay. All right. So strategy number 2 here we're going to do is pre-committing to a strategy for retirement, because I think a lot of times you can do the work, but if you don't stick to the plan, that's where we get into trouble.
Commitment is huge, particularly where you tell others. So it's one thing if you privately think to myself, well, I could use to lose a couple pounds. I'd love to lose 10 pounds. If that's just a private thought, you might accomplish that goal. If you tell everybody in your neighborhood and at work, hey, this is something I'm working on, now you know that others might judge whether or not you complete that goal. And so numerous studies have been done. The more that people know about what's important to you, the more commitments that you've made, especially publicly, the odds are that you're going to be able to accomplish that stuff. So when you commit to something with an advisor, that is a third party that's got your back, that knows what's important to you. And effectively, if you boil it all down, Jess, what are you committing to? When you retire, there's a certain lifestyle that you want to enjoy. And that could be traveling. It could be gifting to kids or grandkids. It's a lot of different things people want to do, but it all comes at a price tag. Mm-hmm. So the ultimate commitment is how much of my nest egg am I going to spend each and every single month? We want that to be a public declaration. We tell people all the time, make a Saturday declaration. If you were to live your best life every single day, over and over again, what kind of retirement fuel, what kind of income would you need to support that? We don't want to tell them what their best life looks like. They tell us. And then we say to them, okay, to accomplish that, we're going to have to take a distribution from your stuff, X amount. It's going to be like clockwork. You've made a commitment. Now we're going to stick to it by putting a plan behind it that just puts it on autopilot.
Right. I think when you stick to anything, your confidence automatically has to increase from there. Hey, if these tips have been helpful for you, hit that subscribe button now. The third strategy that we're going to talk about here is sometimes the market goes up and down and all over the place. Should our spending, should our lifestyle do that too?
So this is one of my favorite topics because people always want to know, hey, what do you think's happening in markets? We've got an election, we've got a war in the Middle East. There's always something happening on a global scale that's got people a little bit worried. And the thing is, that's an evergreen type of thing. There's always going to be a reason for worry. That's just been the way that life is forever. It's the way that it will always be, right? So if you have to adjust your plan because known calamity happens, you probably don't have a good plan. Jess, what I'm trying to say is we know markets go up and they go down based on all sorts of different news or events that could happen. And if you say to yourself, well, the next time the election doesn't go my way, the next time there's a big change in markets, or if the economy is suffering, well, then I'm just going to batten down the hatches. I'll travel less. I'll give out fewer gifts or less valuable gifts around the holidays. In other words, if the way that you live your life is dependent on the market cooperating, the market isn't always going to cooperate with your plans. Number one, and you can plan around that, okay? The second thing, Jess, is that there's this assumption, well, as soon as the sky clears, this thing that I'm worried about goes away, then I'll get back on track with retirement. Mm-hmm. But who's to say that you're gonna have that time? You could get hit by a bus tomorrow. You could have a health event that changes how you're able to enjoy life. So to put life on hold every time something in the environment that you have no control over, to have that be what controls the steering stick, I don't think is great policy.
And it might not even be super clear to an individual when is now back to normal. Has the war ended? Is it in the middle of an election cycle? Like, when are we back to baseline?
A good plan accounts for rainy days. We know as advisors that markets are going to go up and down. Elections aren't going to go your way. War is going to break out. There's going to be calamity in some way, shape, or form. You plan for those rainy days. You don't have all of your money at risk. You make sure that there's a certain pot that you can dip into if the market is zigging as opposed to zagging. That has to be part of your plan. And the beauty of something like that is that then you can have confidence in still continuing on with what you've declared, right? You say, hey, I want to spend X amount per month. We don't have to deviate from that if we've accounted for some of those rough spots that just generally occur in life.
Those are 3 strategies on how to become more confident in your retirement. If this was helpful, hit that subscribe and like button and check out our other episodes on retirement planning. We'll see you next time.